Welcome back, Gadgeteers. Today we're going to look at a new camera that I got. This is the Ultra HD 4K from Campark. Now this one's a little bit different than the Akaso Brave 4 I have here, so we will be doing a comparison between the two. And just so you know, I wanted to say right from the beginning that this camera was sent to me free of charge. However, nobody is reviewing this video before it is posted, and I am not getting paid for the video itself. Alright, with further ado, let's go ahead and start unboxing and see what we have in here. Alright, we're in a little bit better position here. We can look at what's in the box. So what we have here, and before I start going through it, I wanted to point out that this is the model X10. So this unit does have a touchscreen, so it'll be interesting to see how well it works. First thing in here is a thanks surprise. By sharing your experience matters. Apparently you can redeem a free gift on Amazon, dual slot dock charger, or 32 gigabyte high-speed micro SD card, or an octopus tripod and selfie stick and floating handbar plus waterproof case. Very interesting. Now, the Akaso Brave 4, of course, did include the dual battery charger with it. It did not have the memory card or the tripod. Alright, so that's the first thing. Second thing we get is a user's manual. Now I'm going to assume that these are in multiple languages. They are, so although the manual is actually pretty thick, it looks like the first 11 pages are the English manual. So each manual in each language is about 11 pages. Okay, again, this is the model number Campark X10 with an LCD display of 2.26 inches TPS. The lens is a 170 degree, what it calls an A+ high resolution wide angle lens. Video format 4K at 30 frames a second, 2.7K at 30 frames a second, 1080p and 720p. Image format JPEG, video format MP4, H.264 compression, micro USB 2.0, HDMI, and a micro SD card up to 32 gigabytes. Now, the Brave 4 also said it only goes up to 32 gigabytes, but I actually did put a larger card in, so it's possible it could take a larger card. Power supply 5 volt 1 amp. Microphone supported. I'm not sure what that means. We'll find out if you can plug a microphone into it, which would be a very nice feature. So the battery capacity, pretty typical for these little cameras, a 1050 milliamp. And video time, it says here on 1080p you can get about 90 minutes on the battery. So if you're running 4K, expect to get probably about, I don't know, 60 minutes. Pretty much supports every operating system, which is fairly typical. Weighs in at 46 grams without the battery, 66 with the battery. Operating temperature up to 55 degrees Celsius, no lower than -10 degrees Celsius. Relative humidity 5% to 95%. It says no frost. And there is some support. So here's one of the very small batteries. I'm not sure if these will be charged yet. So fairly typical 1050 milliamps, 3.7 lithium ion battery, 3.85 watt hours. So there's two batteries. So we have two batteries here. And on the top right here we have the camera, and we have what looks like a punch out hole to probably get to the accessories. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out, and we'll open the accessories first. Let's see how we do that. Okay, so we open this side. Now, one of the great things about these cameras is all the accessories you get. So let's have a look. First thing we get is a USB-A to micro USB cable. Of course, that will be for charging the unit. Now, because it doesn't come with a charger, that means you'll plug the cable directly into the camera itself to charge your batteries. And we have several different adapters for what is pretty much the GoPro style. So what they say is with these cameras, anything you have that works with a GoPro will work with this camera. So we have another adapter here. Now I do admit that I'm not sure what all these adapters are for, but you know, you pretty much use it for what you need it for and what you can make it do. So there's another one. So we have a couple of clips here. And it looks like these have glue pads on the back, so I'm thinking you could slide the camera on it and lock it in place, and you could glue it somewhere. And this one, of course, is the standard tripod mount. So this mount, definitely used to mount to a tripod. This one could be used for a selfie stick or anything you want. You screw this into the bottom of the camera or the case, and then you can mount the selfie stick to that mount. Looks like a handlebar mount for a bike. They always include a couple of zippy ties. You know, there's a number of things you can do with these. A cleaning cloth and a wire, which I believe is used to hold the camera or secure it. And a couple of extra stick-on pads, probably for the mounts here that have the stick-on pads on the back. And we have a couple of Velcro straps and what looks like a gooseneck style mount. Now this is one of the mounts that, if you look at it on the back here, it has a clip that should fit into this one. Yeah, they do. So they fit together, so you could glue that on, and you have this kind of a gooseneck style mount, so it gives you more angles. Let me get it down a little further there. And then presumably when you want to take it back out, you just pinch the clips, yeah, right here to slide it back out. And then it comes apart. And of course this piece here has the screw in, so you could mount it to a tripod and slide it on, so you could have a quick mount and a quick release. And then we've got another one. This looks like a more of a standard side mount style. So you can mount the camera here by the case, and then you could have it on the side if you wanted to. So that's all the accessories that come with the camera. There are quite a few here, and the camera itself is in the case here. So this camera's case is probably custom. My experience has been with these cameras, although they say they're compatible with all GoPro equipment, that doesn't include the cases, because sometimes they're slightly different with the placement of the buttons. Case in point, if I turn this one sideways, it has its buttons on this side. This one doesn't. There's a front button to power on the Brave 4, button on here. Now the cool thing about it is this one's a touchscreen. So we've got a couple of buttons on the top here. It looks like more than likely power and starting the camera recording. Now these usually come with a ton of stickers on it. I can see there's one here on the front lens. I'm not going to take that off until we actually fire up the camera and get it going. So to pop it off, pretty typical of GoPro style cameras. So it clips onto the edge there and just pops down. Now this right here is plastic, where on the Brave 4 the clip on the top is metal. So the back comes down and the camera slides out, and again there's even more stickies here, and there's a sticky here with a getting started sticker. Peel off the films on the camera screen and camera lens of the camera and the waterproof case. Make sure the battery is full power for the first time of use. Format your SD card not included on the camera first before using. Now what I'm going to do is grab my older Akaso EK7000 and pull the card out of there, and we're going to fire it up and see if it'll just use the card straight out. Now looking on the bottom here, we have HDMI. No, I'm sorry, that smaller one is HDMI. This one is USB micro. Then we have a mount, of course, for tripods. And I do like that because the Brave 4 did not have a mount on the bottom for tripods. So if you're not using the case, which you don't always necessarily need, especially if you're inside at home, you can just go ahead and mount this directly to the tripod. Okay, what we need to do now is find out if we've got a battery here that has a reasonable amount of charge. If it doesn't, we'll have to charge that battery up. So here is the door for the battery, and we're going to put it in and see how lucky we get. Battery slides straight in, pretty straightforward, and the door is spring loaded, so it pops up. All you have to do is hold it in place and then push it closed. I'm glad I left the sticker on there until we're ready to shoot because I don't want to get a bunch of fingerprints all over it. So here we were talking, it looks like this button is a settings type of button, and this one is the actual video button to take video or photos. But let's see what happens when we press one of these buttons, see if this has any charge at all. Yes, it does. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off this screen. It says select mode of the camera. Video recording 2.7K at 30 frames a second. Well, what we're going to do, click enter settings. So it's basically showing us all the different settings on the camera. Slide down to open the quick menu. Slide around. Makes sense. Kind of like a smartphone, really. Press shutter button to start shooting. For better capture the 4K experience, please make sure you use good quality micro SD. Enjoy your camera. Alright, let's check out the settings. Now right now, it's saying that the camera is in 2.7K 30 frames a second. Now we want to find out how good this thing works at 4K, so we'll change that to 4K, and I'm going to click close here. Does that take us back? No, let's go to this button. Okay, so video resolution is changed. It is going to record sound. We don't want time-lapse video. We can do looping. We have slow motion on this, and it does 720p 1080, or excuse me, 720p 120 frames per second. So that's the only setting available there. What about looping? Looping, we can do 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and 5 minutes. I'm going to set it for 5. Time-lapse video, close, which means don't do anything, 0.5 seconds, 1 second, 2 second, 5, 10, 30, and 60. One thing you have to be careful about, I've noticed that if you're scrolling through to look at different settings, and it automatically selects whatever you scroll through. So just be mindful of that when you're going through these settings. And we looked at slow motion, recording sound, video resolution, and we're going to click the settings. We have image rotation, white balance. We can do sunny, cloudy, incandescent, fluorescent, or auto. So I'll leave it there. Image rotation, driving mode. Let's see what that's all about. Well, it's just a click on or off. I'll have to check into driving mode in the manual and see what that is. Frequency. We have auto or 50 hertz and 60 hertz. Auto screensaver in 30 seconds. Auto shutdown in 3 minutes. time watermark. I don't want the time watermark. Boot guide. Language is English. How many other languages do we have? Looks like Chinese, Dutch, French, Italian, Espanol. Quite a few. Format. So it doesn't detect the card, of course. We'll have to come back to that. Reset to factory. Firmware version. Okay, so those are the settings. So before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and get a memory card for this camera, and then we're going to do some testing and see how it does. Okay, so I've got a 16 gigabyte Lexar Micro HC Class 10. That should be fast enough for 4K. We'll find out. So we're going to grab the camera. Now, I did not see any other openings on the camera except for here, so that must be where the memory goes. So we'll open it up, and there's a tiny slot right there. See if you can make that out. There we go, right there. And we're going to try and put the card in now. And forgive me, I'm using the camera for viewing here, so this may be a little difficult. I like to get my nail right on the edge and push, and it did click in. I'm hoping I don't have to format the card. It doesn't matter if I do. That wouldn't be any big deal. See if we can get that screen to come back alive, and it does. And then we should be able to close it, and we can now see what's on the screen. And we actually do have a decent charge on the battery. Now it is showing me that it's not going to record sound. I must have bumped the setting there. So you got to be really careful or you might end up shooting something you don't want. Now, one other feature I want to mention that you do get with the Akaso 4K is you get two case backs. You get the waterproof style, and then you get one that will actually has slits in it so that you can hear sound through it. So that's one thing to consider. And this, of course, is the Akaso 4K EK7000 that has no stabilization built in, so it's the approximate equivalent of this camera here. So these two would be basically equivalents. Our hope is this one has a much better lens. Let's find out. Let's shoot some video and see what we get. So apparently it's asking me to unlock. Alright, we're unlocked. We're going to go ahead and start shooting. Alright, I'm going to try and get the camera in focus here, and I'm going to show that to you again. So it's going to come up really quickly. I'm going to hit the button, and it basically says the card file system format does not meet the requirements. Do you want to format? So since there's really nothing on there, I'm going to go ahead and confirm and let it do the format. And presumably it went ahead and did that. Now it's got something here called drama shot. Let's see what that's all about. So it's showing me mode, drama shot, video, auto, timer, loop, photo. Let's go ahead and click, whoops, I don't want loop right now. That's a nice feature on that touchscreen. You can quickly get to the mode that you want by simply clicking that bottom there and then touching the touch screen. Now this is nice because one of the downsides of the Akaso Brave 4 is that it only shoots 24 frames a second when it's shooting in 4K, so we get a full 30 frames a second on this unit. Let's see what it does. Okay, it's taking video. So I'm just going to pan around a little bit here. We can all look at my messy studio. And I'm going to turn the camera around and look at myself. And we're going to test the audio. Now this is with the case off, so it's going to be the best, most favorable quality audio that you can expect from this unit. And then in a little while we'll put the case back on and we'll compare it to one of the other cameras and see how well it does. So I just did this shoot with the two cameras side by side, and unfortunately it doesn't look like it recorded. The Campark camera is actually locked up twice now. So that's a little bit concerning. The first time I had to pull the battery out, the last time I had to hold the power button down and just reset it because the touchscreen wasn't working. So the problem with the touchscreen is if you touch it even a little bit, even graze it the tiniest bit, it goes into the settings and starts doing things, and that's a real problem. I assume that if it's in the case it will be a non-issue, but right now with it outside of the case, big problem, because all the footage that I shot, it appears that I may have erased it, so that's very unfortunate. Alright, we're going to do the same shot again, and I'm going to stay away from the screen and the settings and just go ahead and walk out in my yard like I did before. And I'm going to come to the tree here, and I like to do a walk around the tree. I've got the Brave 4 in my hand and the Campark in my hand, both in the same hand. Now the Campark does not have the stabilization features, but that doesn't mean that it won't be a good quality image, which we're hoping. Okay, so we went all the way around. We'll take a shot of my shed, and then we're going to go real quick up to the sky and see how the camera handles the bright light from the darker light. So definitely having problems with the Campark. It doesn't want to start recording. You have to be absolutely sure that you press the record button and you do not touch the screen at all. Any touches on the screen can stop your recording or cause it to go into a feature. And I think I just touched the screen. Okay, a quick check, it was still recording. So this is selfie cam now, and we're walking back towards the house, and I'm going to turn the camera around really quick. We're going to find out what happens when we point it at the sky. Okay, so there's my selfie shot with both cameras pointed up more towards the sky, just to get an idea of what it does. Hey Meadow! Hey Meadow! What's up, buddy? What's up, buddy? And you can notice the angles. The Brave 4, of course, is set for 110 degrees. The Campark camera 4K is set at 170 degrees and is non-adjustable. I apologize if you can hear my neighbor mowing out there, but let's get right down to it. What's the bottom line on the Campark X10 4K camera? Halfway decent. So let's talk about the pros and the cons. So I've made a list here. Pros, plenty of extras for the camera, including the case. Now, of course, this case does not come with it. That's for my Akaso here. The touchscreen on the back is actually pretty neat. I do like that, and they're putting that in the modern GoPro cameras like the Hero 5 and the Hero 4. On the downside with the touchscreen is the fact that you have to unlock it, which is a problem. So basically after 30 seconds, and I did check the settings, there's no way to change that. The screen locks, and if you have it in the case, unfortunately you have to open the case to unlock it. The screen is very bright and has a very clear preview in comparison to the Akaso cameras. It's larger, very bright, and it's very useful when you're trying to preview your video and see if the video you shot is good enough, as opposed to having to take the memory card out and go to a computer and check it. You also can hear the sound reasonably well with the speaker on the top here. Image quality is decent. I think you have to accept what you're getting with a $69 camera. They just don't have that acuity or image quality of a GoPro version 5 or 6, or well, any of them, to be honest. It's just gonna look much better if you spend $500 on the GoPro Hero 6. That's the way it is. But if you need a budget camera for 69 bucks, this is actually a pretty good deal. So let's keep going. Let's see, light plastic case. So this one is made of metal. The outside is aluminum here, except for the back, of course, which is plastic, and it feels like the front is also plastic. Same for the EK7000 here, but this one is all plastic, so it's actually a little bit lighter. And it seems trivial, but it's much easier to hold for a longer period of time if you're doing a long shoot with it. So I do like that. I like that there is a tripod mount on the bottom. No case required. If you just want to shoot and put it on a tripod, maybe you're going to do an outdoor shot for whatever reason, that's really nice to have. I wish all of these cameras had it. Now, the GoPro Hero 6 also does not have it. You have to have a case for it in order to be able to mount it to a tripod, so that's a major bonus. What are the cons with this little camera? Well, I did have a lockup at least once, and I had to pull the battery, and of course it reset the time date stamp. Not a show breaker for me because it only happened once. It's possible it could be the memory card. I did not test it with a different memory card. The lockout function we talked about on the sliding screen, that's kind of useless in my opinion. What it would be good for is when you're shooting, if it would lock out then, because I found if you just touch the back of the screen at any time during your shooting, it can do all kinds of things. At one point I set it to start taking pictures in the middle of my video shoot, and I never got any footage. So that's the downside to the touch screen. Presumably you're going to have it in the case, but then again, the problem is if you stop recording after 30 seconds, it times out. There's a huge lack of features on this camera compared to the Akaso Brave 4. No high dynamic range settings, no stabilization, no changeable angle. So this one we can have a wide 170 degree field of view, and then we can get more and more narrow down to 70 degrees, which is more akin to a standard camera. Now, it doesn't really do it in the lens, okay? So it's all an electronic feature in software, so it's just cutting what it's recording essentially. So you actually get less than 4K quality if you think about it, but kind of neat. Let's see, no remote control with this one, but it does come with an app that has plenty of features, I'm sure. I did not try the application because it's not something I really care about all that much. The waterproof case does not come with an alternative back that has holes in it that you can use so that you can hear audio better. What I do like about these cases is they really protect the camera, so I'm not really using it so much because it's waterproof. I don't do very many underwater shots. I like the case because it protects the camera from damage. So this case that I got from Akaso, you can see, has slits in the back, and I can change this back to a waterproof back. The other thing is, of course, the top is solid metal, unlike this one, which is plastic, which I suspect could break reasonably easy. So keeping all these different pros and cons in mind, the Brave 4 camera comes in at $89.99 and the Campark comes in at $69.99, so it is $20 less, and you be the judge. I think the image sensor and the lens are comparable, if not a little bit better than the Brave 4. Allegedly this has a Sony sensor and a fairly decent lens, but I actually found that the EK7000 looks better than the Brave 4 in my opinion, but it has no image stabilization and you can't change the angle. So that's a downside to that one, although it is much less money. If you're on a budget and you just want a Actioncam, this is not a bad camera by any stretch of the imagination. The only downside I see to it is it doesn't have stabilization, but you do get what you pay for. You've got to pay more if you want the image stabilization. For that extra $20, the stabilization on here is subpar and the image is somewhat blurry, so I personally think this is not the greatest camera as far as image stabilization goes. You really need to pay more if you want a quality camera that has quality image stabilization. So if you're just looking for a basic camera that can do what you want, has a tripod mount, comes with a lot of accessories, this is a good choice for 69 bucks and has a reasonable quality image. And I'll let you be the judge of that. We're going to put both of them up side by side so you can look at them. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, like and subscribe. If you really liked it, consider sharing. I always appreciate any of those things if you do any one of them. And as always, I'll see you next time on Fast Gadgets.
This video was made possible with support from viewers like you. If you find this video useful, consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/fastgadgets.